Welcome back. We're here to preview Tuesday night's Premier League game between Hull City and Aston Villa. Matt, we'll start with Hull. They come into this off a really encouraging draw at Man City.
Yeah, it should give them a big boost in terms of confidence. At the end of the game, lost 3-0 home to Newcastle, didn't they, before that? And that was hardly ideal. You go to City, who, in fairness, we discussed it last week, City's home form's not been too strong this season. They've had some draws, and Hull were really good in that game. They took advantage of some poor City defending to take the lead. David Myler getting in at the back post and scoring. And to be fair, City didn't have a lot of the ball, did they? They didn't have a lot of the ball, a lot of chances, and they'd never won at City entering that game in the Premier League, and you thought they were going to hold on, and Tom Huddleston gave away that free kick outside the box, and it was still a difficult position, but James Milner obviously whips it in the top corner, and it's so disappointing. Obviously, you look at the start of the game, would have Bruce taken a point? Of course he would have done, but when you're that close to winning at Manchester City, it's tough. But I think you can look at the positives. You know, they've gone to City, played really well, and certain players, Alex Bruce at the back, obviously the manager's son, and people like that, Huddleston was better, and you're looking for positives, and that's what Bruce needed after what has been a really difficult season.
Definitely, yeah, and it took them out of the bottom three briefly, but since obviously Burnley, they drew with West Brom on Sunday, so they're now back out, Hull back into 18th place in the bottom three, and it is so tight down there. But obviously, we talked about City. That was neither of us expected them to get anything from that game, but they have got a point out of it, and now they'll look at their next five fixtures. Their fixtures coming up, and they'll think, right, this is a real chance to build on that point from City. They host Villa here, then they host QPR, one of the teams below them in the table. They go to Stoke, host Sunderland, and then go to Leicester, who are bottom of the table. So five fixtures that you wouldn't expect them to win all five, but Steve Bruce will think all of them are winnable, and he'll probably say to his players, look, we can get 15 points out of 15 here. I don't expect it to happen, of course, but they are all winnable games, and if Hull can get, say, maybe 3 wins from these 5 games, that will probably take them out of the bottom where you expect it to take them out of the drop zone. And a really great run of fixtures coming up, and Bruce will think, this is a real chance for us to pull ourselves away from danger.
Obviously, Hull back at home, but their home form's not been great this season. They've only won twice at home, and that's not really good enough. I mean, you think about the away games this season. They've drawn at Arsenal, drawn at Liverpool, drawn at City, and you're thinking they lost at United, but they've had some really good games away from home, and you would wonder whether they're better set up like that with the 3 at the back, the 5 at the back, whatever it becomes with the wing backs. And it's at home where their problems have been. They've only won twice, lost 6, and that's disappointing. Lost against some teams who they would expect to beat, and it's teams like this as well. Aston Villa, they're both down there, and it's so close at the bottom, isn't it? We mentioned it. No one's really cut adrift, and you're looking at it. And obviously, if Steve Bruce, he'll been linked with Fulham as well, interestingly, and if he loses his job, or whether he loses, or whether he decides to leave, as he's taken Hull as far as he can. Really, I'm not too sure. Obviously, what we did last season with the FA Cup and everything, but he's been linked with Fulham. That's interesting, and it'd be interesting to see whether they do decide to get rid of him. I don't think they will, but you never know.
Definitely not. Moving on to Villa now. Obviously, they finally broke their scoring drought against Chelsea. Home to the league leader. It was never going to be easy, but they'd gone a club record 6 league games without scoring before that. And obviously, they broke their duck to equalise against Chelsea. A core area with the header at the back post from across from Carlos Gil, and he keeps impressing for me since he moved from Valencia. He's doing really well. Obviously, nice cross from him for the goal. And they got back to 1-1, but then Chelsea obviously running out 2-1 winners with Ivanovic. Great finish from him, obviously one of the Premier League's best defenders, and decent in the box as well. I mean, Chelsea's first goal was fantastic. It was so hard for Villa to stop that. They broke with Oscar down the wing, cut it back to Willian, and then his incisive pass. Great finish from Hazard as well. So I think Villa will look at that goal and think there's not much we could have done. It was just a fantastic goal. But they did well to come back into the game. Chelsea didn't overpower them completely. They were sort of thereabouts, Villa, but obviously it is another defeat for them and leaves them 16th in the table, just 2 points above Hull, who are just in the bottom 3.
Mentioned Hull's home form. Villa's away form has not been too bad this season. They won 3. It's not been great, don't get me wrong. They won 3 times, which is more than one at home. So they look at this game, and in seasons gone by, Villa have been sort of an away team, haven't they, with the pace of Agbon Lahore, people like that, Vyman, who can stretch teams, and they've been sort of Delphi midfield. That's where they've been good in recent seasons, and it's really important this game. They're 2 points outside the bottom 3. They don't score enough goals, do they? So they need to start keeping clean sheets. But they've got some winnable games as well. They play Stoke, West Brom, Newcastle next 3. So don't get me wrong, that's not the easiest run of games, but it's not United, Chelsea, City. It's not sort of whether you think they're going to get no points, and it's difficult for Villa. But this sort of game is just so crucial.
Definitely, both sides will look at this one. Like you mentioned, Villa have got decent fixtures coming up as well. So both sides will think this is a chance for us to really kickstart, a decent run of form here. So both sides will really fancy themselves. Who are you picking?
I can't separate them two because I don't think Villa will get a point. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think it'll finish 1-1.
I'm actually going to back Hull here. I think Villa, even though they're encouraging against Chelsea, I think, going to Hull will be really sort of buoyed by that point at City. I'm just going to back Hull to nick it 2-1. So we've got one draw and a narrow Hull win. Thanks for watching.